Hello everyone, it's Chantel from Crow Chantel, and welcome to this video where I will be going over everything you need to know about yarn. Please feel free to leave any questions in the comment section below and also share your favorite yarn tips and tricks. So to start, we will go over how to read a yarn label. There will be information on the yarn label that includes things such as the color, which is often next to the barcode. There will also be information on the yarn content, the weight of the yarn, the recommended needle and hook sizes, as well as the gauge, so how many stitches and rows you will need to do to achieve a certain size. There will also be information on the amount of ounces and grams, as well as the yards and meters for the yarn. So the yarn weight essentially is telling you how thick the yarn is. So a weight 6 will be a thicker yarn compared to a weight 1, for example. It starts from 0 and then goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, with 7 being the largest size. It's important to read your yarn labels before starting on a crochet project so you know that your work is going to end up being approximately the same size as the pattern that you are using. Most patterns will often tell you how many ounces or yards of yarn that you'll need, as well as what weight the yarn should be, and more details such as that, which is why it's super important to read the label. And now we are going to go over the different types of yarn content. So to start, we are going to go with synthetic fibers because this is the typical beginner yarn. You will find that the most popular synthetic fibers are polyester, as you can see with the chenille yarn, acrylic, as well as nylon. So most blankets and chenille yarns are the polyester, and the average skein of medium weight yarn is often acrylic. So this will be the yarn that you see most people purchasing and that there seems to be the most of when going into a yarn store. There are also yarn blends, which include the best features of different yarn contents, and I will be going over that a bit more later. Now I'm just going to go over the pros of synthetic yarns. You'll often find they're more affordable, they're more beginner friendly, washer safe, there's often more colors, and they're normally more durable. And then for the cons of synthetic yarn, you'll find they're not as breathable, and they're also not as environmentally friendly because they have plastic content, so they will have that plasticky feel, and you'll find that they often pill a bit more than the natural fibers. And then on the opposite end to synthetic yarn, you have the natural fibers. So this includes cotton, wool, mohair, bamboo, and more. As you can see, I have a wool cotton blend. So a blend is just taking the best features of different types of fibers and putting them together into a yarn type. And then I also have a cotton yarn as well as a bamboo cotton blend on hand. And so the pros of natural yarn include that they're more environmentally friendly as they are a renewable resource. They have greater breathability, they're typically gentle on the skin, more absorbent, and more hypoallergenic. The cons of natural fiber include that they're often more expensive and therefore less accessible to the average crafter. You'll find that lots of people find wool to be an itchy fiber. As well, they are not as durable. Now I will be going over my top choices of yarn types for different projects. So I'm going to start off with amigurumi as that's what I primarily make. And I would recommend that when making amigurumi, you use primarily blanket or chenille yarn. You'll find that most people will choose these. So as you can see, there is the Bernat blanket yarn, the loops and threads chenille yarn, as well as the Parfait chunky chenille yarn. It will often say directly on the label what type of yarn it is. So chenille yarn is the soft, fluffy yarn, and blanket yarn is more of a chenille style. I personally don't find the blanket yarn to be as soft, which is why I don't use it as much, but it is a great option, especially if you are looking to make larger projects, so using that larger yarn will help make it easier to work up. If you want to make some smaller amigurumi pieces, you can consider using acrylic or an acrylic cotton blend for a yarn. This can also be a much more cost-effective alternative to chenille or blanket yarn, as long as you are okay with the final product being smaller than if it were made with the chenille or blanket yarn. Next up is clothing garments. In all honesty, you can use whatever yarn you'd like to use for apparel. Blanket and chenille yarns can be used to make chunky toques, scarves, and mitts, but for the majority of the clothing, I would recommend sticking to natural fibers or acrylics. So this wool blend, for example, would be great for winter projects like socks, scarves, etc. The acrylic and cotton blends can be great for vests and sweaters. And I would keep in mind that the heavier the yarn weight you use, the thicker your final garment will turn out. So for example, if you want to crochet a lightweight sweater, reach for the lightweight yarns. And then last up, we are going to go over my top picks for cloths and tea towels and things such as that. I would recommend using acrylic or cotton yarns. I find cotton seems to be a bit rougher than an acrylic yarn, so this can be great for scrubbing. I personally prefer these yarns as I find they're quite durable compared to using a wool or a wool blend yarn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something, and just a reminder to go into the comment section and leave any questions you may have, or if you have a lot of knowledge on yarn, to share your favorite yarn tips and tricks for the other beginners watching this video. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing for more content such as this, and I'll see you in the next one.